Hi and hello watch fans, welcome to the Real Time Show. This is Bellon Joseph and I'm very happy and honored that I'm sitting in the studio in Amsterdam with my friend Cedric Bellon next to me. So this is another episode we recorded face to face. Cedric, welcome.
Thank you, Alan. I'm very happy and honored also to be here. And I already enjoyed this trip. We had a lot of fun for the past 2 days. So thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for coming. So this is day 3. We've been hanging out. I already upfront apologize to our dear listeners that it might turn very philosophical on this recording because we've been having amazing talks, brainstorm sessions, creative sessions, philosophical discussions and conversations. So I will do my best to boil it down back to the basics. So we need to take some gears down on our levels of talking. We have so much to discuss. First and foremost, Cedric, congratulations on finally setting up your brand, because you've been designing amazing watches for over 20 years. And we're going to discuss the majority of the brands.
Almost 20 years.
Almost. And 2 years ago, you were the first designer and watchmaker in the sense that you became a watch brand, Cedric Bellon Watches, on the Watch Angels platform. We also spoke to the co-founder of Watch Angels, Guido Benedini. I think that episode aired before this one, but we recorded it one day after the other because we hung out with Guido as well in Amsterdam. How has it been, the journey, the last 2 years, setting up your own brand and literally stepping out of the limelight? Stepping into the limelight, I'm sorry. Out of the behind the curtains.
It was intense, in fact, and it's still intense, because I had to decide to leave the comfort of the shadow to be in front of the scene, and I'm not used to do that at all. I'm more a back office guy than a front office one. And the other big challenge for me was not a watchmaking topic, but it was social media, and it's quite new for me. When I listen to me talking, I think I am something like a dinosaur, But let's say, except these two big challenge, the motivating part was to take people like-minded to question the watch industry and to make it more sustainable. In many ways, all the processes we use, the energy we use, the tooling we are involving in the processes, and of course chemicals and things like this. So it was a complex topic, and first of all, a cultural shock to promote in an industry which is an old lady, and that were pretty much the main topics of this journey. And it's only the beginning. We have plenty of ideas, plenty of designs, and plenty of opportunities to collab, for example. We'll see what will be the next steps. But I'm very excited to tell you that we have a lot of material, intellectual and passion material to show and to rise.
Amazing. I have been privileged enough to have a little inside scoop, so I can promise you guys, keep an eye on it. For those that like to scroll and browse while listening to this episode, some of our listeners do that on the go and while they sit behind the computer or on their mobile screen. Cedric Bellon is spelled Cedric Bellon.
Yes.
You can find him on Instagram, which is his first name, last name plus watches, which is spelled at Cedric Bellon Watches, Cedric Bellon Watches. Although he has a website, which is from his original design business, which is called Bellon and Partners, which is bellon-partners.com. You don't really refer to that website. It's not really related to your brand. And if you want to find out the watches Cedric designed, maybe you've listened to the episode with Guido Benedini from Watch Angels. If you haven't, please go to www.watchangels.ch. That's WATCHANGELS.ch. Cedric, before we dive into the sustainability, how you started with Watch Angels and actually launching your first own watch, you're 46.
Yes, I am.
You're French.
Yes.
Father of amazing twins.
Mm-hmm.
Please share your journey in up until today, privately, but also in the watch industry.
Well, where can I start? When can I start? Actually, when I started my study, I wanted to become a geologist, as I told you, because I was keen on sciences. But soon in the university, I was bored by the system of teaching, So it was not creative enough. I decided to leave after 2 years to link back to some of my first passions, so drawings and creativity in general. And I started the School of Design in France on the West Coast, the School of Design of Nantes. And after 5 years, I started to work in a small agency in the Parisian area. Then I had a surgery on my back, so I was very dependent for months of my family. And I always felt that jewelry and watches were interesting items and fascinating materials, finishes. And all this very detailed world with marvels. So I just started to read about watches and jewelry, but it was I have to say that I fell in love with watches first. So I decided during my recovering period to work on concept watches. I was completely naive about technique, about watchmaking. I mean, the wheels, the pinions and things like this. So I was free to imagine a lot of things, of crazy things. And I started like this. I called brands simply like that. And I offered them to have a look on my portfolio. Fortunately, it worked, not immediately at the beginning, because I started to feed myself with to live, I mean daily, to design displays for watches and jewels. And then suddenly Bellon Ross and almost in the same time Tag Heuer gave me very small projects to try, because my portfolio was at the beginning very crazy. The watches were totally crazy. And then I also worked on very classical watches concept, just to show that I understand that we cannot do anything we want. So they gave me the opportunity to try real design topics for watches. And well, that's when I started, really. Sorry.
No, please. That's amazing, because I've heard you say about these crazy first concepts. Is there anywhere online we can find those initial?
No. I never. I don't even know where they are. Probably somewhere in my computer, because I was starting the 3D. I was not able to render, to make the CGI pictures. So it was a kind of mashup with photoshopping, 3D screenshots and things like this. So it was very, very raw, in fact. But actually, the pictures were talking by themselves, so it was enough to show that. Well, I think at that time brands found that I had fresh eyes, a fresh point of view about watches. And by the way, a lot of them told me that it was impossible to make a lot of things technically speaking. And 10, 12 years after that, I could say that almost all the things, the crazy things that people thought at first it was not possible to make, were made by people like B&B at that time, by MBNF also, by people like this. So I'll show you it to you.
I would love to.
Yeah.
And I'm even going to push you more out of your comfort zone. I'm going to ask our listeners to do some voting or some nudging or some pushing to send either us a DM or an email or you directly to vote if they want them for you to upload them on your Instagram. So guys, help me here. Let's push and nudge Cedric because he's very modest and nice and sweet and he's so discreet that I think we need to push him out of his comfort zone. I would love to see those. Cedric, would you say back then and today your signature of style of designing is the same? And if so, what is it?
I don't think I have a signature. Probably the best asset for a designer is to fit the mindset, the brand style. If the brand has a style, I think it's always rewarding when you can feel, or when someone tells you, "Well, I think you probably designed this watch," because they recognize something. I don't know if the cleanest lines possible, or the proportions. I don't know, something that catch their eyes. So it's always rewarding for the ego, But I'm not linked. I don't feel like I own the design I make for the others, because when I do my job and my client is happy with it, it's okay for me. I don't feel like I would deserve to be that my name has to appear on the work I did for the brand or for the people.
Yeah.
So I can't tell that I have my own style or my own signature.
But you do now with your own brand, which we'll come to later, because I want to hold on to that evolution of yours. So you mentioned Bellon and Tag Heuer.
Yes.
I do know that still today, you continuously from that moment till today work for Bellon.
Yes.
You still do?
Yes, absolutely.
I know some brands you can't mention. May I ask you to list me some other brands that you have worked for or still work for today?
Well, one of my very first clients was also Longines. Mm-hmm. It was a nice time. It was 17 years ago, almost. And it was interesting to see such a big brand, because at that time, it's still a big brand. At that time, it was something crazy. And we worked to, Longines was very famous at that time for the elegance is an attitude, very famous motto. And we worked to develop the more sports watches in the brand. I don't think some of the watches are still available today, so the designs apparently.
So could we mention models? Is that allowed?
I'm not even. I don't even know the name of the.
I think it was Conquest then.
Conquest, yes. So the brief was not that complicated, and there was many watches, different watches. I think this one is the only one which is still in the collection. I worked also a lot for the MGI group.
Yeah, so the Movado group, you mean?
Movado, exactly. Movado, the brand, a little bit, Able, and Concorde was as well.
Amazing.
Concorde during two different eras, the Vincent Perriard era with crazy watches, crazy tourbillon watches, for example.
Did you work on the C1?
Yes, not the first edition, the second one with the 2-axis turbine.
Amazing.
And also on more classical watches. I worked for small brands like the Fifth, which is an Australian brand, entry level brand. What else? I don't remember all the brands I worked for.
What about Frédéric Constant?
Frédéric Constant, of course.
Alpina?
Yeah, and Alpina a lot.
French houses?
Yes, Hermes. I worked with Hermes for many years, but I was more working for pushing some concept, and then they develop the ideas in-house. I worked also for a very famous brand of the Vendôme place in Paris, which is used to make some ceramic watches. So it was really a journey with them, because I discovered many fascinating things, and especially gem settings watches, which I was absolutely not keen about, but keen on, sorry. But I have to say that I had the opportunity to visit the workshop of gem settings, and it was mind-blowing. So beautiful colors, things, reflections, techniques, tools, and know-how. So that's pretty it. I also worked a little bit on aircraft seats.
Okay.
That was funny. It was over than 20 years ago now. But and until now, 2 years ago, the Watch Angels, they offered me to be the first project of their new project. So this crowd manufacturing platform. I think Guido told more in better words what it is exactly. So I know that we met already years ago with Guido, and I talked already 17 years ago about how to make a more sustainable watch, and he remembered that. And at that time, it was impossible to convince the supply chain or even the brands or the group, because luxury and the watch industry in general didn't care about environmental topics. So it was too hard to develop that kind of project. But now, the public also is more aware of certain things. They're more educated about pollution, environment, about energy, about a lot of things. So it's easier to start that kind of project. But it's still very hard to convince the suppliers to question their practices, to question their processes. Both the machining part, which needs a lot of energy, and the chemical part, which needs a lot of pollution, in fact. So we started from scratch, in fact, to question the whole process of creating a watch and producing it until the retail. And the very first thing we thought it was that the design and the technical design was the first sustainable mindset to have. For example, the Watch Angels, they are cases manufacturer. So I simply asked them if it was possible for them to produce watches with 100% recycled stainless steel, and then if we would be okay to produce also dials, because they are not dial makers. So it was a big challenge, because I asked them to use the same tooling to produce dials out of this material. For a few weeks, they tested it, and in the end, they met some different problems, because stainless steel is not brass like classical dials. It can bend, because of the machining of the finishes and things like this. So the material was quite new at that scale, at that thin scale to work on. but in the end, they did it. They really did it. So we pushed every single detail of the development of the design and of the production that way to make the most possible sustainable watch.
Amazing. So for our listeners that maybe never heard of Watch Angels, maybe you didn't hear the episode on the Real-Time Show with Guido Benedini, the co-founder of Watch Angels, a quick summary. Watch Angels is a hybrid new way in the watch industry. Founded 2 years ago by Guido Benedini, a veteran in the industry, has a track record also with Longines and Frédéric Constant, so you know where Cedric and him worked together and became friends. The idea is to create a community of both collectors that can become angels, let's call it angel investors, that can get early on board of a project. It uses crowd-funded methodology, so new brands and designers can come to Watch Angels, and basically Watch Angels does almost A to Z. You would have liked them to do 100% of the marketing, but obviously collectors want to hear from the creators and the brands themselves, so it is co-branding. And basically from A to Z, the angels, the members of Watch Angels can have a say, can have a vote. The earlier you get on board, the more discount you get off the RRP price of the watch. So that's the quick summary, if I didn't forget anything. Now, you leapfrogged a bit about the sustainability as if it's something simple. Guido told on the episode I recorded with him that you were the first ever to make a wristwatch with 100% recycled steel. And I asked Guido, how the heck has nobody ever done that before? So that's very cool, guys. So the CB01 is a skin diver's watch. Check it on Instagram or Google it or watchangels.ch. It's an amazing watch. It's less is more. It's a bit form follows function. Everything that Cedric does is taking sustainability into account. And we discussed in length that Cedric developed his own methodology to quantify how sustainable his watch is. Because 100% is impossible. He's very transparent, very open. Although he's 46, he behaves like millennials and Gen Z. So transparency and sustainability is everything for him. So he wants less parts, less processes, no chemicals, if possible. So whatever he does, it's literally form follows function, because the function is sustainability for him. Now, Cedric, if Watch Angels would have told you it's a pipe dream you have, who the hell can produce an 87% sustainable watch? And they would have told you we can only reach 40%, because for our listeners, that 87.59% mounts to 2.3 times more sustainable than the average Swiss watch made. That's how they quantified it. And you can really see an extensive report on watchangels.ch. They publish it, full transparent, and per watch that Cedric launches, which he did now 3, and I'm honored to be part of the third one because we did a collab with Ace Jewelers on his second platform, which is the CB01 GMT. Every watch gets its separate report. Mm-hmm. Now, Cedric, if Watch Angels would have told you we can only do 40%, would you have done it?
100. Yes, for sure, but not the 87%.
No, if they would told you, no, we're 80% impossible, we can only reach 40, so a bit more than the Swiss industry. Would you have done it?
You have to start somewhere, you know. I knew that the project would probably not be perfect, for sure, because nothing is. We didn't have any digit in mind, just because we didn't have at that time the tool to measure, to rate the whole process. It was during the journey, during the technical development, that they imagined they worked on a way to rate from the geographic location to the material and the transport. Each component had to do this, and they mixed all that digits to reach to make a result. In fact, it was a scientific way with math to measure how more sustainable, because completely sustainable watch is not possible, how more sustainable this watch would be. We need scientific criteria, some things we can measure. But, ironically, there is plenty of other details and things we do also which are not measurable. I can give you some example if you want a bit later. So the sustainable report, let's say just reports, the measurable part of the sustainability of the whole process.
Yes. So, a devil's advocate question for you. It's like somebody who has great success, a creative person, with the first project. It creates peer pressure and pressure on the shoulders to come up with an even grander success the second time or third or follow run. Now, you've pushed the envelope on the second one. I think you raised the index of the sustainability on the second watch.
Yes.
I assume you're very realistic, and I know you holistically want to be a catalyst and inspirator for the whole industry, to motivate them to join you in the movement. Mm-hmm. You definitely don't do greenwashing. You even hate or despise that word, I think, or the concept behind greenwashing.
But right? It's very complicated to talk about environment, in fact, because it depends on with who you are talking about that kind of things. It depends on your culture, where you are living on Earth, what's your job if you have one, what's your even your religion, your uses, your daily moves. So each person will have a different opinion and a different view of what is sustainability or not. So that's why we thought that it was very pragmatic to have digits to prove what we do, but we also we can tell a lot of other things we do to make it more sustainable. And I don't want to be considered as a prophet, let's say. But if that kind of move could inspire a bit more an industry which is very difficult to shake, a very traditional industry, I would be happy about that. For example, I would love to take with me in this journey movement manufacturers, to be around a table, to sit around a table with them and to try to find what can be done to make the components production more sustainable in terms of energy, of chemicals, of materials, of everything. But I don't want to carry, the flame, the fire of a message. No, not at all. I think, like it or not, the watch industry, as many other industries, will have to face some topics about environment. So pollution for sure, but the scarcity of energy resources and also materials, for example. So, like it or not, we all will have to face it.
I agree. And this show is not meant to sell, push, or promote ourselves, but Guido actually pushed the both of us to write an open letter to the industry. So we kindly invite our listeners to, if you're into this topic, to read that open letter. We would love your feedback on it. Call BS, criticize us, give your feedback, criticism, whatever. We would love to hear any feedback. Because especially I'm not, but you're not a green warrior. You're very realistic. And although you say you don't want to carry the flame, I think you should. But the industry needs role models. And apparently nobody's standing up, because it actually shocked me that it took up until only 2 years ago to use recycled steel. Gold is done. For example, Chopard took a lead on that all their precious metal watches and jewels, I think they announced that 3 or 4 years ago, were ethically mined, responsibly sourced gold, which is chapeau for me to Chopard.
There's many reasons for that. I think, stainless steel is not as precious as gold or platinum.
So
it's the very first reason, I think. Stainless steel is already usually between 60 and 80% recycled, because we don't have enough, in fact, to feed the whole industry, buildings, cars, everything, every field that needs a lot of stainless steel. So stainless steel is already partially recycled. But that's true. We were the first project to use 100% recycled. And I have a nice anecdote to tell about that, because I met the guys from ThyssenKrupp, who allowed us to use that alloy for the first time. I met them last summer, and I discovered by talking with them that I thought at first that by chance we were the first to use it because it was ready when we asked. But no, it wasn't ready. They had already 98% recycled stainless steel. So then you have 2%, there's some additive and things like this to make the alloy. And ThyssenKrupp has a Swiss laboratory to make research and development. And so the guys at the laboratory, they thought it was fun to work on watches because it was the first time they had that kind of topics. And the project, the purpose of the project, it simply talked to them. So they decided to make it just for CB. I mean, I was very surprised because I didn't even know that they worked in the shadow without telling me it's us. So I like this kind of humble posture. And I was very pleased and honored to discover that CB was the very first to use that alloy, but the alloy was developed for CB.
Funny. I didn't even know that. I do think they branded it pure steel, and they spelled it with capital P, small U, capital R, small E, and then capital steel.
Yeah.
So the RE stands for recycled.
Exactly.
But I Googled it recently. It was very difficult to find something.
Because it's brand new. It was made just for CB. But for sure, ThyssenKrupp is a big group. So they will probably offer this alloy also to other brands. Because it's nice. It's funny to have watches. Usually these people, they work for very heavy industries. So it's kind of fun for them to work on such topics. But for sure, you will see more 100% recycled metals, not only stainless steel, in the future.
Yeah. So some of the listeners know that I'm crazy about titanium. So I'll save you the time to send me the question. Yes, I asked when is Cedric making titanium watches. His answer was resolute and easy. It was a rhetorical question. When there is recycled titanium. So then my follow-up question was, when can we expect that? And you said sooner than we think.
Well, maybe it will depend on what values I will stand for, to be honest, because even if recycled stainless steel or titanium are more sustainable than new one, it still requires a lot of energy, especially titanium, sometimes chemicals also. It's a complex process to, and it has a cost of, in fact, every human activity has consequences. So recycling titanium has for sure consequences, even if it's less than extracting more material to make titanium. So I don't think I would make a huge series of titanium watch, but for sure, if the opportunity is there, yes, I would like to try to do something, because I also like titanium because it's very. I like the color. I like the weight for sure. It's very comfortable to wear. And it's just like you told a bit earlier that there is a 100% sustainable watch is not possible, and I'm realistic. I know that I will not be able always to reach such a good score in the sustainable report that we created. Because, for example, if you take simple 3-hands date watch, manual movement, for example, and a chronograph, the chronograph is obviously less sustainable than the 3-hand watches because there's many more components in the movements. There are pushers, there are more hands. Yeah, so it's a whole logical path we have to explore before telling why it is more sustainable, why it is not, or why it is a little bit less than the previous one. I mean, we will probably not be able to go beyond the limits we established with the previous one.
So that being said, does that mean you automatically rule out there won't be a chronograph?
No, not especially, but it was just to explain that this score will be different according to what is the watch exactly, according to the movement, to the crystal, to the material, and so on. It will always be more sustainable than the equivalent watch in the Swiss watch industry. But it won't be always the same.
Yes,
so we will have to play with, for example, to make colors on the dial, we will have to ask for a dial maker to make it. So, and use some processes we don't use today. Yeah. But we will, in the end, it will be always far more sustainable than an average equivalent watch.
So that explains a lot. You basically don't take your own bar as the threshold and therefore limit you. You just want to push the average of the industry up and do better than the average to jack up the average or the mean.
Exactly. It's not a competition. No. It's not about that. It's about pushing people to question about the processes, about the materials, and about the way they want to see the industry evolve. And I don't do that as a vocation, I need a job like everyone. So I try to do my job as a more sustainable, in a more virtuous way. So I as sustainable, environmental topics I feel connected to that kind of topics. I thought that it was the best way to try to do my job in a more virtuous way.
That's amazing and noble. So how did you jack up your index, your sustainability index, by 2.3 times compared to the average? You mentioned already recycled steel. That did a lot. Guido explained that, but for those that never heard that episode or not aware with raising the bar on sustainability in the watchmaking industry, what else helped you jack up that index so much?
Well, basically, for example, we removed the packaging.
Okay.
It sounds a bit simple and a bit idiot, but in fact, packagings usually are boxes we put away in a cabinet. And that's it. So it has no purpose. It has no use. So we removed that but we know that for some people it has even the packaging has a value. I mean, when it's a gorgeous box with noble materials and things like this. But the CB watches are not made to be sold like this. We removed also. We cancelled all the dial making processes by making our dial in house. So it's
cutting.
And I need to cut here because I'm not able to find the word galvanic. Okay, let's go.
Fine. So, Rob, you need to edit here. You'll start from, you'll say, so
We canceled all the dial making processes because it requires a lot of chemicals and a lot of energy. So the galvanic processes are out of our league, and for example, we use laser engraving for the dial, for the back, also the case back, and in that process we removed the acid with which the parts that just are engraved has to be cleaned with. And we do it with high pressure steam. So, there is plenty of little details that people cannot know and cannot see. But there are hundreds of little things like this that we try to imagine, to rethink, to rework in order to increase or to lower the impact, the environmental impact of this watch production. Also, for example, the shippings are made in recycled card boxes. We don't have any papers. I mean, it's only the invoice, which is online, is enough for the identity of the watch at the moment. The straps we offer are handmade by Marco Lazzaroni, an artisan who is established nearby the factory, with repurposed leather. I mean, it comes from rendering industries, like many other leathers for shoes, for example. All the glues that he uses are based on water. Mm-hmm. The stitchings are linen, and whereas there is many things like this. The only components we have absolutely no skills on are the movements. In fact, the crystals also and the hands. But for the rest, we can push people to find solution.
So, for our listeners, I just want to explain a bit. The implication of not using the galvanic processes for the dial, for example, leads to a very unique signature DNA in design for you, because you call them naked dials. Mm-hmm. So for those that are less familiar, 99% of dials in the watchmaking industry are from brass, and they're always lacquered, galvanized, etc. So by taking this point of view and this strategy, Cedric Bellon watches usually are brushed satinated steel dials, so they're the same color and style of the case. So it gives a very cool ton sur ton, tonal on tonal vibe. On the CB01 that he and I both are rocking today, his first watch, the hands are naked brass.
Exactly.
So it's a goldish color, but they don't even have lacquer, right?
No, nothing.
Will they oxidate? Patinate?
They already are.
Patinated.
No, but they already are oxidate.
Yeah.
Because in fact, when you put brass in the air, the oxygen immediately oxidized the surface. But once it's made, this surface protects the underneath layer, so it won't move. But in the end, you will see at some small details. It looks like spotting. Some flaws. Yeah. Yes, exactly. At the beginning, but in fact, it's a patina.
Yeah,
and it's natural. So don't touch it. It's just like this.
Yeah. So that's amazing. And will the steel behave differently? Is it 316L recycled steel?
Yes, it is.
So it doesn't behave differently.
No.
Than non-recycled steel.
Exactly.
And steel doesn't really patinate. It doesn't discolor. It's color fixed, and it's hard. Would you? Yesterday we were jamming and brainstorming over dinner and beers. I daydreamed. I said, how amazing would be your watch in a full matte gold dial?
Huh.
I didn't ask you, would you make a full recycled gold watch?
I would love to.
You would?
Yeah. If it makes sense for CB also, because, as a brand, maybe people would not be able to, or would not desire gold watch, a solid gold watch with a CB logo on it. I mean, because today,
I would wear one.
Yes, but today it's let's say it's a very affordable watches brand. So I don't know if I need a very established brand used to make high-end watches to sell solid gold watches.
I beg to differ, and if our listeners also beg to differ, definitely raise your voice, please.
Because the gap between the price of a solid gold watch and a stainless steel one is huge.
Yes, okay, but that parameter is done in every brand spectrum, so that's irrelevant. That's your modesty, I think, talking. But, okay, let me continue daydreaming. Now, you in your report have a beautiful pie chart cut in 3, and the word proximity jumps out for me.
Mm-hmm.
You just touched upon the leather maker. I think it's called Vicuspelle.
Vicuspelle, yes, you can check his Instagram. He makes absolutely stunning bags or wallets and things like this.
It's spelled Vicuspelle, right?
Exactly.
1 C, right?
1 C, 2 L.
Yeah. So I love these straps as well.
So yes, you're right. The local aspect is very important because transport is a huge part of the energy spent to manufacture something. The globalization made it possible. I mean, to manufacture components of any item in different parts of the world, and due to this easy access on with a cheap energy, oil, I mean, we were used to ask suppliers everywhere around the world. But if you cut the transport and you bring it back to the factory or just around the factory, so let's say Switzerland because it's a small country, it already helped a lot to decrease the environmental impact. So the local aspect is very important for us. Yes, and we will push to find more and more suppliers able to do the parts, the components we need locally.
Is everything Swiss made in CB watches?
Yes.
You don't even communicate that, I think, because the ruling for Swiss made is only 60%.
You know, as case manufacturers, my partners, they have to push. In fact, the fact that they're able to produce cases locally. So yes, yeah.
Okay. Now, you said no movements are made today sustainable. That's your dream. You communicate that they're repurposed calibers. What does that mean? And explain what consequence that had. Because the watch I'm wearing today has a different caliber than my second watch I ordered and didn't get delivered yet. So the CB01 GMT and our iteration, the collab, is not out yet. Maybe when this episode airs, it is or isn't. It's a different movement, but not because you wanted a different caliber. You couldn't, right?
Exactly.
Please explain.
It's another part of the more sustainable mindset we try to have. When you order for a batch of movement, usually you are at the origin of a new production or part of a new production of brand new production movements. So we wanted to avoid that because we wanted. I kind of like this sailor mindset, you know. When you are sailing around the world, you are doing with what is on board only, because you have no more on board. So you do with what you have at hand. That was the idea. As watch manufacturers, my partners, they have some stocks of movement already. So instead of using new movements and to make the diva and saying, you know, I want that kind of movement, we simply had a look on what was already in stock, unused, and we only have to use these movements, which is much more sustainable. In fact, the purpose was to repurpose them. So we had sometimes to refurbish some, but they are modern movements. Don't worry about the reliability, accuracy, and so on. And we will try to do it every time we can. We cannot every time because sometimes there is no movement in stock. But it's also, repurposing things. We try to repurpose also tooling, to machine. For example, the design and the technical design were made to avoid a lot of machining and to machine the less possible and the less material possible. The finishes to be easy to make, because the more time you spend on finishes, obviously you spend you waste a lot of energy. No, it's not a waste, but you know what I mean.
It's less efficient.
Yeah, it's less efficient. So that's it.
And what I really, really love about you and your philosophy is the sustainability aspect is in every fiber of your being and your DNA and your brand DNA. That I understood a lot of your production gets delayed. Today in the post-COVID world, that's normal. But you really do not want stuff produced for your brand individually and separately. You always want to run in a production run. So you go in the slipstream, right? So, and to reduce energy. So batches are produced. You don't create separate production runs. You really want it to run with other productions and bundle and cost efficient, energy efficient. So you don't care that things take longer.
No.
Angels need to be patient.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry for that, people. That we don't want to rush because we want to sell first. We want to offer watches that are well made and that are consistent in what we are telling, because it will be very common to listen to a lot of shades of green about the storytelling of brands, not only in watchmaking, in the coming years. So in order to avoid that, we prefer to take our time and to do things step by step, but to do them properly.
Amazing. So, to get back to that repurposing of movements, the CB01 had an X amount of 100 calibers. Therefore, the CB01, the initial skin diver type case with a bezel, is not produced anymore.
No.
With the sub-seconds at the 12 o'clock position, for example, because it was Dubai Dupla calibers.
Yes.
Finished. Therefore, the watch is not there. It's not per se a limited edition watch. In the GMT version of the CB01, it's SOPOD.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And there's more access to these calibers.
Yes,
but
I guess the stock was larger, but
yeah. So I always use the metaphor of a cook. Do you start with a recipe, write out your shopping list, and go get the ingredients, or like the real chefs, they go by seasons, see what's in their cupboard, and then whip up a meal with the ingredients at hand, which is actually more creative. So kudos to you.
That's more like this.
Yes.
Because once we have the movements, we know that we will have to work with this movement.
Yeah, that's your framework. Yeah. Which is rare, I guess, in sometimes in the industry. But
often brands have stock of movements. So when I work for brands, they tell me you have to make a watch based on this movement.
Yeah, well,
that's not so rare, but usually they want to build collections with different kind of movements. The CB collections, well, let's call it a collection, is built because of the movements, not because of the marketing.
Yeah, but you limit your success because the CB01, I think, is a grand success. Did it surpass your expectations initially?
Yes.
Yes, and I am not surprised why.
I thought it would be a one shot.
Yeah, but you basically,
and we already are talking on the third watch.
Yeah, but your nobleness of doing everything from the primary reason of sustainability, you limited your own success, basically. You're a victim of your own strategy.
Yes, but I think we won't regret it because as long as we are coherent, consistent with what we are saying and producing, we will not. It will be rewarding.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I'm super excited, as you guys noticed, about Cedric, his brand, his watches, and his whole mission and vision and strategy. I have a zillion more questions, and actually I think you should come back on the show, and if you guys agree, please hit us up to re-invite Cedric. A few more questions. I'm shooting out of the hip. Your favorite watch you ever designed that's not yours, that you can talk about?
There are so many of them.
So shoot. Let's pick up the pace.
I spent a long time with my Submariner.
Yeah, but you didn't design the sub.
No, of course.
Okay, but the Submariner you'd love as a design.
Yes, because it was one of the most accurate, comfortable, well proportioned, and precise watch I have ever owned. And it's also a symbol, it's very classical as an icon, but the watch itself didn't change a lot in 50 years, And
do you think that's good or bad as a designer?
That it's very good. It's very good because it means that the watch was made on purpose and with a lot of consistency. I mean, it was one of the mother of the tool watches, the stereotype tool watches. Yeah. And in fact, a design able and a function able to live that long, I think it's a good point. And it's somewhere something very sustainable because it's durable in the literal sense of the word.
And you can keep on fixing them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because it's another aspect. Yes, the first series of the CB01 was made to be, even all the case components can be made with a standard watchmaking tooling.
Yeah.
If you have to redo.
And that's why you chose for a skin diver case.
Yes, because it's very simple. It was popular, and I'm very comfortable
with
it.
Monoblock-ish.
Yeah.
So it's less parts, guys. But I asked you the one you designed, not the one you owned.
The one I designed. It's very hard to answer.
Mention a few.
Well, I have Bellon is in my heart, in fact, because it's a very long collaboration, and we know each other. I like to work with these people over there because they're nice people. It's almost like a family, It's a very human scale brand. So Bellon, yes, I actually. A watch I would never wear because it's too big for me, but I like a lot. It's all the series of skull watches I did with them because they are so unexpected. I remember the first brief was to make a pirate watch, and putting that skull into a square-shaped case, it looked like a pirate flag. So it was the point from where we started.
It's for our listeners, the BR-03, and then skull.
It was the 01 at that time.
01, sorry.
Very big. 46.
3 is smaller.
Yeah.
So the B01 is the big 46 millimeters. Yeah. And then the B003 is the smaller version. Just type skull, many limited editions. We sold many in bronze, steel, etc. And then
today the collection the watch looks like a stealth aircraft, and with facets, everywhere,
and the screws. It's cool. Did you work
even
on
the collection evolved with?
And my current favorite Bellon, the old ones were we discussed that, the old vintage inspired ones, but since the BR-05 came out, that's my favorite Bellon. Did you work on that?
I worked on that with the whole team. Yeah, it's always a collective work at Bellon. There's never the results of the work is never dependent to one people. Bruno Bellamiche, the co-owner and co-founder of the brand, is leading the creative department, and so his vision leads us to make the designs and to develop them with him. He's heading all the creativity of the brand.
Yeah, amazing. Still family owned and family run. Chanel has a small stake, but it's really a private company still.
Yeah, the creators are still the owners, so it's very rare to brands like this are very rare today.
Yeah, they're very cool. They actually have a bit of a pirate spirit, so the skull watches make sense. We're nearing the 1 hour. Maybe one outro question. What brand, if you can daydream, would you love to work with or for or design their watches besides your own?
Maybe yours.
Yeah, but I'm not a watchmaker yet. I do a lot of collabs. I daydream of doing a watch brand. We are honored to do a lot of collabs, but a established watchmaker.
Well, you have the proper word, because I would love not to work with a brand, but more with a watchmaker, an independent watchmaker, able to make almost an entire watch by hand. Kari Voutilainen, maybe. I met also there is plenty of young watchmaker. You can see the work on the social media today. But I would love to work for this tiny world of almost perfection. Nothing is perfect. Artisanal, made by hand. Because everything is digital, dedicated to obsolescence today. So being able to work a material by hand, which is very concrete, it's for real, and it connects your wrist to one of the rare items you can own today, and which don't require electricity or oil to function, it's quite rare. So I like this. I'm a man of product, because it's my job, it's my expertise today. I'm not a materialist guy, but I like the objects for itself when it has a function. For example, there's no decoration in my home. There's nothing on the wall, because every furniture or item in the house can be used for something. It has a function, because the function itself usually has its own beauty, I think. Manual tools, which were some of my inspiration to start this project, for the mindset, not especially for the design, are very inspiring, because they are usually made with noble materials, with durable materials, and they are, a hammer, a knife, a pencil, an axe. Immediately, what is it made for? The design, the shape of it talks and tells, I am an axe, I am a pencil, I am a knife, I am, you have to use me that way to do that. And it's a single function. Today, the simplest advice is able to make thousands of things. So these hand tools, you can use them after generations of users. So it's very interesting, and I think it's a very sustainable way to think in order to produce items able to be used after generations of people. Durable, in fact, really durable.
Anti-single-use throwaway culture.
Yes.
Kari Voutilainen, if you didn't hear this episode and you know him, send him this episode. If you want us to introduce you, Rob and I are more than glad to introduce you. Young watchmakers, you want us to connect you. Reach out. You want to contact Cedric directly. You don't even need us. He's a lovely chap. I vouch for him. Merci, mon ami.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much for having me.
It was a pleasure. I hope you, dear listeners, have enjoyed this episode as much as I've been the last hour. Thank you for listening. If you like what we do, please hit subscribe on your favorite podcast player. And we love, love, love to hear your feedback, not only for our weekly Q&A episodes. Keep those questions coming in for our mailbag. You can reach Rob Nuds on Instagram at ROBNUDDS or by email rob@therealtime.show. You can reach me on Instagram at ALONBENJOSEPH, and obviously also by email, alon, ALON, @therealtime.show.